I think that Oregon, Washington, Stanford, and Cal are going to push negotiations out as far as possible. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master Football, back at it again. Happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be up to date on all things EA college football, subscribe to this channel right now. I also do some college football, pro football, and Madden videos as well. Please subscribe, okay? Hit that red subscribe button. It really helps out the channel, okay? Trying to get those subs up, okay? Quest for 1K. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Do all that stuff. I really appreciate it. Without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, guys, check out the new digs over here. Check out my boys, Boise State, everything like that. We are doing so good right now. We just moved into my new place, so we are in a good spot. However, you know who's not in a good spot? The Pac-12. Now, that's actually not 100% true. So the Pac-12 with 10 members, and then there's the Big 12 with 10 members, who's going to be going to 14 members, and then they're going to be going back down to 12 members during the big. Some of those schools from the Pac-12 that has 10 members, because 2 of them left to go to the Big 10 with 16 members, and they're trying to expand beyond that. So the Big 10 is trying to go to 20, and that's where conference realignment is. That being said, so we're talking about the Pac-12 today, because I'll tell you what, right now, the Big 10 is just toying with its food at this point, because what's going on? USC, UCLA go over to the Big 10. They are going to be joining that 16-team conference. The Pac-12 now only has 10 existing members: the Oregons, the Washingtons, the Bay Area schools, and then Colorado, Utah, and then the Arizona schools. So with them, there is rumors that there's going to be more expansion from the Big Ten's perspective out west to make sure they can give those West Coast schools some partners in travel and things like that. Also add some new markets. Let's get into an article really quickly here that kind of breaks down what are the kind of the following actions from here and what we have to look forward to next, because there's a lot of questions we got to answer, and I'm going to do that, or I'm going to attempt to do that right now. So here we are from azcentral.com. Pac-12 realignment expansion updates, rumors, speculation, burning questions for conference. Jeremy Clough. So we come down here, we check this out. What are the odds of the Pac-12 conference collapse? John Wilner, who's been all over this for the longest time, basically says, what's the odds of a collapse if Stanford, Cal, Washington, and Oregon leave for the Big Ten? He wrote 100%. In that scenario, a total of 6 schools would be headed to the Big Ten, and the 4 corners, Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, Utah, would undoubtedly leave for the Big 12. Sure, the conference could reform with Oregon State, Washington State, and a slew of Mountain West schools, but it would be the Pac-12 in name only. Yet in that instance, it would basically just be Washington State and Oregon State adding to the Mountain West, and then they would just rename the Mountain West the Pacific Mountain Conference. I don't know what they would just do something like that. But at that point, if they lose those 4 to the Big 10, the other 4 to the Big 12, Oregon State, Washington State, love you guys, okay? Wazoo, okay? Corvallis is beautiful, but you guys don't have the leeway to kind of command that situation. Does the Pac-12's future hang in the balance? Dennis Dodd wrote, separate from any Big Ten decision, ESPN now has a chance to become somewhat of a kingmaker regarding these leagues. Each conference is eyeing the other's schools in what could become the next big realignment story. Without a Big Ten deal, ESPN has theoretically freed up money to spend as both conferences are currently in flux. Remember there, and again, this is important here, where it's just content, live sports content. It's the only thing that plays. It's live sports and live politics. Everything else, you can be recorded and this and that. So there's no real emphasis to make sure that you have anything besides live sports. So you have the ability to do that. ESPN is in the sports business. They have to throw money towards that situation. Pac-12 is desirable because ESPN would not otherwise have any games in that valuable 4th window after 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Pac-12 After Dark. Tag has been ridiculed by some, but it would be valuable to ESPN. Take it to the extreme, it's worth asking, would ESPN now have influence over which league survives this round of realignment? There is already word circulating that the Pac-12, in the middle of its own media rights negotiation, might have to agree to a media rights contract that allows Cal, Oregon, Stanford, and Washington an out if approached by another conference. Oh boy, that is juicy. John Wilner continues on here. How vulnerable is the Pac-12 to further poaching? He basically says, but the Pac-12 and ACC are vulnerable to future poaching, the former more than the latter. With a grant of rights agreement that extends into the mid-2030s, the ACC is better defended against raids by the Big Ten and SEC. They're better defended against raids, but they're also more negatively affected towards expansion. So they really just kind of stuck in this weird period of limbo. But like I said, the ACC and the Big 12 have strength from some of their weaknesses. The ACC's strength comes from the weakness that they can't add anybody and can't really touch their grant of rights. And the Big 12's strength comes from the fact that nobody really wants to poach them at this point. So they are more unified than, say, the Pac-12 or the ACC if that grant of rights was up. Every utterance from the Big Ten about further expansion, whether it's a pronouncement by Commissioner Kevin Warren or an anonymous source, is taken as an immediate threat to the Pac-12's survival. Absolutely, I am telling you right now, the Pac-12 they're in the middle of renegotiating their deal, and how can you honestly do that at this point? Okay, the Pac-12 survival is in Kevin Warren's hands. The second that he gets a little froggy for somebody out there, they're going to leap, and there's one team that's already reaching out to them about that. So here we go. Oregon and Big Ten begin preliminary expansion discussions in Chicago. So they went out there. This is from Brett McMurphy. Now remember here, okay, that escalator clause that I made a video back last week. Go back and check that out. It's a good video. The escalator clause, it basically states that, as they add more teams, the value for the agreement can go up, basically just to kind of keep level with the deal. So the fact that people won't be taking too much of a loss when you add a team like that. So yes, Oregon and Washington would cut from the big pie, but I think that they would definitely add more than Indiana, Purdue, Minnesota, things like that. So that's a big fancy way of saying that. I think that this Oregon, Washington, Stanford, and Cal are strategic moves. Remember, they're not necessarily revenue generating right now. They're probably going to lose a little bit of money when they add them in, but they're already reaching out. And Phil Knight, Oregon, they want in. They want to be a part of those big conferences because they know that the Pac-12 is a sinking ship. Nobody's unified. I remember I won't call them the Irate 8. I won't call them the Irate. I'll call them the other 8 members from the Big 12 that stayed. They were much more unified, except for maybe, West Virginia wants out for geography reasons, and Kansas wants out because I think they think they're a Big 10 team or a Pac-12 team, and they are academics and basketball-wise, but their football product is just so bad. So what's the timeline for Pac-12 expansion? John Riller, he says, most likely a decision on expansion and the act of signing a new media rights deal will unfold concurrently. In our estimation, the course of events will follow one of two paths. The Pac-12 signs an exclusive deal with ESPN as a 10-school conference. In the next 2 or 3 weeks, the Pac-12 negotiates with multiple bidders on the open market and takes a hard look at expansion. In that process, that consumes 6 to 8 weeks, if not longer. I would not be surprised. And again, this right here is completely unfounded. There is no basis at all. This is all speculation on Master Football with Jake Posey. I think that Oregon, Washington, Stanford, and Cal are going to push negotiations out as far as possible. They're going to take their time, because the whole time behind closed doors, they're probably going to know what they want to do with what deal, but they're probably going to be like, how can we get out of this thing? Hey, Kevin Warren, just do it. What are you waiting for? Escalator clause, let's get going, add us in right now. I guarantee you that's what's going to happen here, because if you're a Pac-12 school, I mean, honestly, if you are Stanford, do you sign anything? If you're Cal, do you sign anything that's going to lock you in for a long time, knowing that the Big Ten is coming? Now, Stanford does have plenty of money, but Cal's not necessarily in a situation where their football is just down, but again, they can turn around quickly. Okay, they are Cal Berkeley. The local community doesn't really care about the team, but they do have a lot of resources, former alums, Deshaun Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, Marshawn Lynch, things like that. Who could the Pac-12 add in expansion? Sports Illustrated's Kevin Borba included San Diego State, SMU, UNLV, Fresno State, Boise State, and Houston on that list. I love my boys. I love my Boise State. I'll be honest, I don't think they're going to go join the Pac-12, because I don't think anybody in the Pac-12 wants to stay. In the same way when Boise State and San Diego State joined the Big East schools that were there were like, we're going to disband and just become a basketball conference. So I think something like that will happen in the future. But again, like I said, this is the whole situation here. Which Pac-12 schools could join USC and UCLA in the Big Ten? That is the ultimate question. Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren recently told Actions Network's Brett McMurphy there are a handful of schools besides Notre Dame that the conference could potentially add in expansion. Sources indicate the Pac-12 schools include Oregon, Washington, Stanford, and Cal. Like I said, the Bay Area, the Northwest pair, they'll have the LA pair, they'll have 6 schools out there. What would that get them to? 16, they're going to add 4 more, get to 20. 20 seems to be the number, get to a 10-game conference schedule. It looks like it's already in the works right here. Add some West Coast schools out there. But again, What I don't know, and what I'll try to answer in the next couple videos, is what the justification for Kevin Warren taking his time. Now, I think that they were negotiating that deal. USC and UCLA were included in that deal, and then I think they were already kind of negotiating what the escalator clause would be. So that's what I think is going to happen here. But again, there's a lot more stuff that's going to happen in the next couple weeks here. But the Pac-12 looks like it's going to die. So this has to be super, super aggravating for anybody who's a Washington State, Oregon State. You're just you're flying by the seat of your pants. You know, most likely if you're a betting man, it's probably looking like you're going to be a Mountain West team. Oregon, Washington, Stanford, Cal, you are trying to get out. The Four Corners schools are going to try and go to the Big 12. I wouldn't be surprised if the Big 12 added more than just the Four Corners. You never know. But I do know that that is the situation right now. We are... Kevin Warren, just do it, dude. Just end the misery. Just get this thing going, because how do I say this? You're taking your timeness, if that's a word, is absolutely driving everybody insane. However, it is creating a lot of content for me, so I appreciate that. But Kevin Warren, just end it, okay? Just go ahead and just say we want the 4 other schools. We want Washington, Oregon, Stanford, and Cal. We'll take the Bay Area. We'll take the Northwest. Just take them. The Four Corners go to the Big 12, and then a Boise State. Excuse me, not Boise State, but Washington State and Oregon State head to the Mountain West. Just do it, okay? We all kind of see it. It's just going to be a matter of time until it actually happens. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, like, share, comment, subscribe. Do all that stuff. I appreciate it, okay? Let me know what you think of the new digs, but beyond that, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I am out.